Hey guys, welcome to Over Soju. I'm Kyung alongside Cho. In this episode, we invited Sean Sol to join us. A DJ for nearly 25 years, Sean's going to talk about how his stay in Korea helped reignite his love for the profession, the DJ scene's progression among Korean and expat communities, how he's coping during the pandemic through Twitch, and much more. We've got lots to uncork, so kick back and give it up for Sean Sol.
So Sean, you are a DJ in Korea, correct?
I am. I usually go under the moniker Sean Sol.
Sean Sol.
But not S-E-O-U-L. S-O-U-L.
Okay. All right. So wait, do you do DJ Sean Sol?
DJ Sean Sol. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a little tricky actually to get. I
It
realized
is.
it.
You know what? I didn't realize how much it was to say until I had a DJ on Twitch shout me out one day. He was like, DJ Sean, DJ Sean. I'm like, it's cool, man. No worries.
Yeah. How'd you get that, by the way?
To be honest, it started as DJ Soul. It literally started as DJ Soul back in when I finally picked the name. Had to be like maybe 1999 or 2000. And over the years, it was always Soul. I mean, when I go back to the States, I still have people who just call me Soul. And these are people who know me personally, but they're always like, hey, what's up, Soul? I'm like, yeah, okay, cool.
Nice.
And then when I, sometime around 2010 or 11, I left. I was living in Atlanta at the time, and I left Atlanta and moved. And for some reason, I wanted to go through this whole, name change, progression, maturing. And I was like, rethinking names. And I was like, well, I've been invested in soul for so long, I can't get rid of that. But then I was like, maybe I'll just add my first name to it. And so that's when Sean Soul came about.
Gotcha.
No, it's also very catchy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
And, it's a good thing that it built on, like, not only, like, in the States, but also in Korea as a DJ.
Yeah.
Right?
When I first came here, everybody would make flyers, and they'd be like, Sean Soul, S-E-O-U-L. And they'd be like, no, it's not that.
Yeah.
That's so, it's so cliche. No, don't change it. It's S-O-U-L. And they'd be like, okay.
Well, I mean, speaking about like your background as a DJ and how you and coming to Korea, can you tell us a little bit about that? So, I guess when and where did you start as a DJ?
Started as a DJ in D.C.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Well, that's questionable.
Yeah.
I was in the Army at the time.
Okay.
I was in the Army from 93 until 97. And around 96, I've always been into music, though. I've always been a party goer. Was always into music in my early college years and just going out and listening to DJs. And I grew up in New York City, so I grew up listening to fantastic DJs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
When I went to college, partied, got out of college. I partied my way out of college, joined the Army, got out of the Army, and then it was, what was next. When I was a teenager, I was always into emceeing and rhyme and rapping. That was my thing. But after the military, it was like, I'm 23. That ship has kind of sailed. And I gravitated toward the music, and I started DJing. I started DJing. That was 96. I had a roommate who had some turntables and a mixer. He had, a few pieces of vinyl in the room, and I would just go in there and play around. And when I got out of the Army, I finished my time in the Army. I went to South Carolina for a year, and I worked with a DJ there, kind of like his roadie, helping him out with the crates and setting up turntables and equipment. And I would go to his house and, play around on his stuff. In 98, I moved to Atlanta.
Okay.
And that was when I made the decision to buy all my own equipment, start investing in vinyl, slowly getting my name out there. And so I say when people always ask me how long I've been DJing. I've been DJing since 96. How long I've been, getting work as a DJ? Somewhere around 99 or 2000.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt you. Watch the hand movement, actually. Yeah. These microphones are really sensitive.
Super sensitive.
As you probably know.
Being
in the DJ
these are
scene.
good.
Well, actually, did you want it to, like in the beginning, did you want it to be a profession or a hobby?
No. When I started DJing, when I actually first started, I didn't know how far it would go.
Okay.
Back then, we kind of started DJing for the love of it all.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like, oh, I'm about to get paid. You know what I mean? It was more for the love of the music and the craft.
Yeah.
I grew up listening to a whole lot of music, being from New York and listening to radio stations growing up. I went to college in Baltimore at Morgan State. It was a big house music scene. Right down the road in D.C. was a big go-go scene. So, you know, I grew up listening to all of this music, and then finally it was just like, hey, I want to do something with it and have fun with it. But I didn't look at it as, you know, let's get paid, let's get rich type thing, you know. I was hoping for gigs, of course, but I wasn't thinking, hey, I'm about to, you know, it wasn't a money thing like I feel like it is a lot of times now. It wasn't, definitely wasn't a money thing.
Well, actually, my apologies for calling it a hobby. I mean,
No,
it was a part of your life. It's a
No,
part of your life.
yeah.
That's a better way to phrase it.
But actually, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with initially calling it a hobby. I think a lot of people get started in DJing as a hobby. And if it's something that they truly love, then they invest the time in it and continue to push forward. And the more you push forward, the more doors open for you. So I don't, you know, I think that a lot of DJs begin as it being a hobby. And then somewhere along the line, there's the goal of doing more with it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm assuming in terms of investment, one of those would be the financial investment that you're putting into the equipment, things like that.
It is not a cheap hobby. You know, it's,
Exactly.
well, I'll take that back. These days, I would say it's an affordable hobby to get into. 20 years ago, it was certainly not an affordable hobby to get into. If you're buying quality equipment. If you're buying quality equipment, at the time you were buying vinyl, whether they were singles or LPs, they were easily $6 a record back then.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like going on Amazon or iTunes now and downloading a song for 99 cents or $1.29. Back then it was a $6 investment for every record you were buying.
Yeah.
So it was a costly hobby.
Yeah.
These days, you know, you can buy your controller for maybe $200, download a bunch of music, you know, rip it off of YouTube, do whatever. Yeah, you can get involved in the game. But at that time, that was where my money went.
Yeah.
I went to work to go buy records.
So let's talk a little bit about you transitioning to Korea and also your how much you've been DJing in Korea so far. Can you tell us a little bit about like how you got started DJing? I guess right now you're living in Incheon, right?
Right.
Have you always lived in Incheon?
I've been in Incheon since I got here.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right,
Since I
cool.
arrived. So I got to Korea in 2014, and the funny part of it all is I didn't come to Korea to DJ at all. As a matter of fact, when I decided to come to Korea, I was leaving DJing behind.
Oh, really?
Okay.
I was actually leaving DJing behind. You know, after 14 or 15 years in the scene, it was just, especially in Atlanta, it was just like, I'm tired of doing this. Again, going back to why I started DJing, I always started DJing for the love of the music.
Right.
I love to see people partying, but it became such a Hollywood thing, especially living in Atlanta. You know, it was, you know, it's kind of dog eat dog in the DJing community there, and you know, just vying to be in the places and spaces that you want to be in to actually DJ. In short, I was leaving DJing behind.
I see.
Okay.
And when I came here, I just got into the regular flow of things. And as with anything you actually love, you begin to miss it. And so what I did first was invested in a controller myself, because it was just easy. I didn't bring any turntables with me. I didn't bring any records.
Yeah, I was going to
with
ask
me.
you, did you bring any of your equipment?
Nah, I brought the only thing I brought with me at that time was my laptop. And by then, by 2014, when I arrived, I had gone digital already.
Okay.
So I was already on a digital platform even before I left the States. So when I got here, I was like, well, I kind of want to just fiddle around with it, you know, have some fun. You know, keep my skills up to, you know, up to snuff. And I went to DJ Korea and bought a controller.
Okay.
And so, you know, I would just be in my room, literally just playing and just having fun. And, you know, people would ask me, you know, well, what did you do before you came to Korea? And so I'd tell them I used to DJ. And what happened was, Yeah, I definitely heard that.
It's all right.
What happened was I was at one of our little local bars in Bupyeong called Cheap Shots.
Oh, I know Bupyeong. Yeah, my cousin lives in Bupyeong.
Yeah. So we're fairly close to Bupyeong. At the time, I was living maybe 30 minutes away. You know, Incheon is huge. But I was at a small bar in Bupyeong, and the owner asked me if I'd like to come and play. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not?
Oh, that's cool.
And so that was really my start of DJing anything here, was Cheap Shots.
Now, but the owner, I mean, so I'm assuming he knew of your background as a DJ, and that's
just
why
through conversation. It was the local watering hole, for a lot of English teachers and things of that nature. So we'd talk, and he'd be like, "Oh, you used to DJ? Want to come play a set or two?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And so I would go there maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months, just play a little bit, and that was kind of my start. That opened me up to, even the idea of DJing again.
And how would you describe your first experiences DJing in Korea?
For me, it was different because I was playing from different audiences than what I played for in Atlanta and when I lived in Austin. Whole new group of people. Now, Cheap Shots was largely a foreigner-centric kind of bar. So we had a lot of English teachers from different places, love of different music. So when you walk into these environments, you're kind of like, you're looking at a different room, a different space, a different group of people, and like, what do they want to hear?
Yeah.
And so usually when you walk into spaces like that, you kind of start off just playing the generics. You play the stuff that everybody knows.
Like top 40
records,
or something?
Top 40 for the most part. The thing is, for me, just not a huge fan of just playing top 40.
Yeah.
So, but it was a cool experience. Again, getting my feet wet in another country, it's like, hey, I didn't expect to be doing this, but it's cool.
Did you originally intend to retire from that?
From DJing?
Yeah.
When I started? You mean when I left it?
Yeah, when you came to Korea, were you like, all right, I'm leaving this behind for good?
No, I wouldn't say I was leaving it behind for good, but I definitely needed a break from what it was in the States.
All right.
Okay.
How would you, I guess, compare the experiences of DJing in Korea versus DJing in America?
Oh, now that for me is a really good question. And honestly, if I ever leave Korea, I'm going to miss DJing here.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. For a number of reasons. For what I like to do with music, I have received a huge amount of acceptance in Korea. The spaces that I've played, there's just been an overwhelming amount of love. Whereas I find that a lot of spaces in America, not all, there's some very good places in America, but I find that in the States right now, there's just, everything is the same. No matter what club you go to between 12 p.m. or 2 p.m., well, I won't say it doesn't matter. It definitely does matter. The space matters. But a lot of your famous clubs, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., and midnight until 2 a.m. in the morning, you're going to hear the same music. You're going to hear the same music. And it just, for me, it wasn't exciting anymore. But Korea, the spaces that I've been in Korea have allowed me to play some really fantastic music.
Can you talk about some of the spaces you played at?
Absolutely. So when I talked about Cheap Shots early, which was more top 40, even some old stuff, 80s, but again, more generic stuff.
Yeah. I'm assuming your audience, and sorry to cut you off, but I'm assuming your audience was, since they were English teachers, we're talking maybe like some 20 to 35-year-olds,
Exactly.
like coming from North America, UK, Australia maybe.
Canada, exactly.
Okay.
What happened was I went to, the next place I played was a small spot in Hongdae. It was called The Vault.
Okay.
It was, and I didn't even go there to start DJing. I've had all of these crazy instances of how I start DJing at certain places. I went to The Vault because it was one of those escape room places.
Oh, really?
Okay.
It was literally, it was an escape room place, and the owner was a guy named Hugh, and Hugh is a guy from the UK. He's Welsh, and he's a really great dude, and so he loved music. Like he loved the kind of music I loved. So we talked about disco and northern soul and house, and we would talk about all of this music. And one day he was like, "Hey, you want to come play here?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll come play." And so I started playing with Hugh for a while, just going there to have a little bit of fun, play some music, and that was a good experience. Eventually,
wait, sorry, to go back to that. Yeah. I mean, you were DJing at this place called The Vault, which is an escape room?
Yeah, so it was kind of like an escape room by day, and then at night he would
it turns into like a bar or
he
something?
would kind of do different things and invite people in and kind of turned it into a bar.
Any chance that you played any background music for the escapees?
No.
That would have been so cool.
We should have. Yeah, no. We didn't do. He literally, it was weird. He had the hours that he would do the escape room thing, and then he would kind of open up and do different private events and parties and things like that later on in the evening. Sure. And so I played there for a while, and then eventually he ended up going out of business and moving back to the UK. And what happened? For maybe 2 or 3 months there was nothing going on. I remember this was like maybe the beginning of 2016 maybe. 3 months later, I had a call from a young lady, not a call, we met on Facebook, and she wanted to do an event. There was like an old school event. And I was like, well, we need a venue. And so it's funny I say that. We needed a venue, literally, to do this event. And so I started looking around, and I was, kind of going through Facebook, looking for places that kind of catered to what we wanted to do with the old school. And there was a club. Bar in Itaewon called Venue.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, I know that place. Yeah.
So it's called Venue. So I reached out to the owner of Venue, who was Rhea Kim.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to Rhea, and she didn't know who I was. She was like, "Well, can you send me a demo?" So I sent her a demo, and she messaged me back, and she loved it. And we met and sat down and talked about doing an event there. So we went and did the event there. And it was after that event that she called me back to be a regular.
Yeah, I've met Rhea Kim a couple of times. She's a really nice girl.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, she shut down Venue.
Honestly, though, probably at the right time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it probably was the best thing for her to do at that time, considering what we're dealing with now.
Yeah,
Yeah. Venue shut down. 2018, 2019.
I think it was last year.
Yeah, last year, maybe 2019.
I had dinner with her at one point, and she was telling me that she'd been running Venue for like 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, it was like 10. It was like, because I think her last anniversary, I think she made it to like 10 years.
Yeah,
9 to 10 years, somewhere in there. And I started playing there. On Friday nights, a few Saturday nights, and it was an amazing experience. Venue was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Venue reminded me of some of our best spaces in the States.
So, I mean, you had mentioned before that when you were first starting off in Korea, you're kind of doing the generic top 40 stuff. At Venue, I'm assuming you were able to kind of expand your content. So, like, what were some of the more, I guess, unique genres that you got to play?
The beauty of Rhea is that Rhea we're all in the same age category, and Rhea loves old school. She loves classic R&B, classic soul, disco. Good, like, I don't want to say good music because that's subjective, but we enjoy the same type of music. So going there, I knew exactly what she wanted, and that was right up my alley. And it was it was my lane, to play soul, to play R&B, to play some disco and up-tempo classic records. And so it worked out well. And the crowd there, and this is where I go back to talking about being received in Korea. The crowd there was just amazing. The audience at Venue was always amazing. The type of people who came there wanted to hear what Venue DJs were playing.
Great. Yeah, I've noticed that whenever I went there, these people, they were really hardcore into the music.
Now, every so often, you'll get the person who's never been there before, who kind of strolls in.
That was me.
And they're like, why are you guys playing old school? We
Yeah.
don't want to hear this and
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you got to read the room. This is
Yeah.
what we do here.
Yeah.
You know, and that is exactly what it was for her space. You know, she didn't like for DJs to kind of get too far outside of that realm. You know, a lot of the current music that is, you know, on the radio now, that wasn't her lane. And that is what I loved about Venue and what I loved about her.
I will say I was one of those guys when I first walked into Venue. When I first walked in, I was just thinking, what the fuck?
There's all this old school music and disco. Hey, what's going on, man? Yo, play some Little Baby, play some Young Thug. Right?
By the way, at that time, I mean, the DJ culture scene in Korea it's still a little new. And
actually, the DJ culture here is quite interesting because, again, there's lanes. There's lanes for all of this, and you have your old school hip hop DJs, but they are not as prevalent, I think, as some of the DJs who play more popular music.
Sure.
You know, Jae Che, one of the first DJs in Korea to actually play hip hop in clubs. You know, I've played with him, and you know, this is not the old school hip hop thing. Is not something you see amongst a lot of the DJs. They really want to play the more popular clubs, the more popular music. But DJs who really get down and play a lot of classics and play a lot of music across genres, I would say they're kind of, well, at least in my experience, they're kind of few and far in between. So
then would it be fair to say that when you're starting getting into the realms of like those large scale like mega clubs, that I guess that scene, it would be most comparable to the same type of scenario in the US?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's to be honest, that's not a scene I'm part of. You know, the big clubs, you know, the mega clubs and the DJs, they are definitely more Korean centric, and that particular circle is mostly Korean DJs. You know, I think for myself being a foreigner, the circle that I exist in is a little bit more diverse.
Okay.
You know, we come from a background, all of us come from backgrounds of strong backgrounds of music, not just the, you know, the popular stuff. You know, even like Lino, you know what I mean? Like
one of our good friends is also a DJ.
Lino, you know, he has like I've gone to we kind of exist in these underground spaces. Underground spaces, dive bars, you know, places like that. That's where we're most comfortable playing.
Yeah.
Right?
I think the last time I hung out with Lino, he took me to this bar in Hapjeong, and I lived near Hapjeong, and he took me to this it was kind of like this underground DJ bar. I say underground in terms of like, I guess like true music aficionados would go there, and when on the outside of it, for me not knowing that, I just thought, it's just another bar.
Can we say names? Oh, we already said.
Yeah.
So what bar was this, if you mind me asking?
To be honest, I don't remember the name of the bar.
So there's two. There are two in Hapjeong that
Okay.
bring to mind, that come to mind. One is Brown.
Okay.
And I don't know if he took you to Brown. The other one is Macaroni Funky Club.
I know Brown. I've never been in there, but I've always passed by it. Because I'm a little too old to go to clubs these days. Yeah. But I've always passed by it on the weekend. I see there's like a huge crowd of people outside of it. The other one, I do not know. I've never heard that before.
So I'm wondering if Lino took you to Macaroni Funky Club.
It could be that one.
Macaroni Funky Club is literally across the street from Brown. And it's a spot that I've had the opportunity to play at, and it's again one of the most amazing places that I've had a chance to play at because of the music and the reception from the audience. Like they just love it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, do you see like in the community, in the circle that you identify with, do you see any variants of the Western DJ scene and also kind of like the Korean traditional music, or like for let's say the post-war Korean genres of trot or pop?
I can't say I've seen much of that amongst our circle.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it exists. I think that a lot of that music has maybe been confined to some of the more like the LP bars and things like that. So you'll walk in and you'll see loads of LPs on the wall, and so maybe they come out. The owners kind of pull them out or play them, when they want to. But I wouldn't say that it's largely played in our spaces.
I see. Sure.
In terms of the DJs that you find here in Korea, starting with just the Korean DJs, are there any, I guess, big names that you would be able to relate to in terms of the style of music that you prefer to play? I know you mentioned one,
JU.
Yeah,
so there's JU. Now, when you say big names, not that I know of personally. I know that in our circle there are, of course, JU, Tom Slick, Lino, DJ Kid Mick, DJ Raw. To me these are great DJs, but I don't know if the masses in Korea would consider them big names,
Right.
Because of the spaces we play in. Usually underground DJs, anywhere you go in the States, here, any other country, underground DJs or DJs who don't exist only in the realm of pop music are usually not huge names. It depends. If they've built their legacy on being that type of DJ, then yeah, you might know them. But if they're fairly small in scale, a lot of people may not know who they are. It just kind of goes with the territory. The DJs who in the States who are big names, who are known for playing a wide varieties of music, they've had decade-long legacies. They've usually been a part of hip-hop groups or radio, or Kid Capri, Jazzy Jeff, DJ Scratch, DJ JC. These are all big name DJs, but they've also been big name DJs because they've worked with hip hop artists and played globally, and traveled globally, and so more people know about them. But I don't think that the underground DJ is a largely known DJ in general.
If you had the opportunity to play at one of those like large mega clubs in Korea, would you do it?
Honestly, I'm not really a fan. Honestly, I'm not really a fan. It really is not my lane, and I think lanes are important for people. There's a lot of argument amongst the DJ community about what DJ should do. Oh, if you're not playing multiple genres, you're missing opportunities, so on and so forth. But I kind of disagree with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with lanes. I know some great DJs who are house music DJs, and they are known for what they do in the house music scene.
Basically, they find their niche and they do it well.
Exactly. Yeah. You find your niche and you do it well. Yeah. Yes. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that. Can I play a wide range of music? Can I dibble and dabble in other genres? Absolutely. But there's just some areas that I'm not truly a fan of. Like, I don't feel at home playing in those areas. I feel like it's forced for me, and whereas some people would say, it's a great opportunity. That's okay, I guess, if that's why you're doing what you're doing.
I see. So, like, let's say in one venue, like you were performing, but did you feel that rift between, like, let's say, Korean patrons and like expat patrons, where you had to like switch between the genres?
You know what? So, for example, when I played at Venue, the people who came to Venue, they knew what they were going to get, and they were fans of it. Like, these are fans of music. These are the type of fans, people who, this was always an amazing thing to me. I could play records from the 60s and 70s at Venue that the audience may have never heard, but they were still just like, they just loved it. Right. Even if they didn't know the record, they take out their phone and Shazam it. Like, I gotta put this in my collection. Like, they loved that type of music. And in Venue, there were foreigners, there were Koreans, and not just, your typical, expat foreigners who are here to teach English.
Right.
We had foreigners from different places in Europe, foreigners from different places in Africa, that would just really come and have a great time listening to some of this music that they may have not ever heard before, but it simply made them move. It made them dance.
Right.
And everybody got along, and it was great. Even some of the other places I've played with, following Venue, I played in Hustle, Itaewon.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Hustle.
I've seen that place, but I've never been inside of it.
Yeah. So play at Hustle. Hustle also, we play kind of a wide variety of music, but definitely more popular music. But even in those spaces, everybody kind of gets along well. The foreign population, the foreign customers, the Korean customers, everybody comes in, kind of gets along well. Same thing at Living Room. Living Room is a very diverse place, very diverse spot. Everybody kind of comes in and gets along. But you kind of get a feel for what people's taste in music is just by kind of watching the room. I know that there are certain, like the young Korean audience, they do prefer more of the, the pop hits, and that's okay. So we kind of mix a little bit of that in, and then we'll get the old school crowd that wants to hear some more of the some of the older classics, 80s, 70s music, and we'll kind of mix that in. So some of those spaces are still good spaces, even though we're playing a mix of music.
So this is a bit of a side question, but I've always wondered, for a DJ, would a DJ get irritated if he got hired for a gig to play music, but in a scenario, in like a place where it's clearly that the music's not for dancing, but it's just kind of background music while people are just having drinks and having conversation? So I've always wondered, a DJ has a passion for music, probably wants to see people dancing to their music.
I feel like part of that is in the communication between the owner and the DJ, or the promoter and the DJ. If that is what you want for the DJ to do, and the DJ agrees to that, then he should be able to accept that that's what the room requires at the time. If you hire me, if you call me and say, Sean, I want you to come play, but just play some background music, play, ambient music, play jazz, play something light. We don't really want people dancing. And I say, okay. And I show up and then I get mad because people are not actually dancing when you didn't want that in the first place. That's on me. That's on me. I think you have to know, DJs have to ask the questions, before they walk into certain rooms. You got to ask, what do you want from me? I ask people all the time, they're like, hey, would you like playing? And I'm like, well, what exactly do you want me to play? If you tell me you want me to come play at some big mega club and you ask me what, I ask you what you want me to play and you tell me and I agree to it, then I got to go do that.
Can you explain the importance of the decor, like the venue in general, like the overall atmosphere, and also how should I say this, like the importance of observing the crowd that you're working?
Every place that I've played or had the opportunity to play, not just here but abroad, it really, the decor definitely matches the music a lot of times.
Right.
When you play in underground spaces, it looks like an underground space. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, some are nicer than the others. Venue put a lot of time into making their place a comfortable space while at the same time keeping it sort of underground. When you walk into a place like Living Room, it looks like a living room. It's cozy, there are the couches around, it's just a nice atmosphere. Hustle is more of it's a bar, lounge type space, so you get the hookah vibe, and there's hookah there and different things that kind of match the they don't want to look too underground, but it's comfortable. It's a comfortable space. It looks nice. And so when you go in, even when you go into the mega clubs look like, you're going to spend a lot of money there. You know what I mean? It matches the vibe of the spot, nice couches and, maybe, or furniture that looks expensive, things like that. And usually in those spaces, the music is pretty much, top 40.
Right.
When you go into those mega places, those mega bars, music is usually top 40. It's made for people to spend money, drinks or hookah or whatever you're doing, buying sections and lounges and things like that. When you walk into place like living room or venue, it's made for, the average person that just wants to go out and have a good time, but they're not concerned with, the lights and the cameras and the flashy stuff. So
they don't
the
care
decor
about keeping up
definitely
appearances.
exactly the decor I think it matters more for the owners, so to speak, but it can also matter for the customers as well.
I do know that some of the clubs I've been to in Korea, I've only been to maybe a handful of some of the mega clubs, and I know they kind of section it off. So they have the house section, then they have the hip hop section. Actually, I think those are the only two sections.
Well, I think with Korea is interesting like that because you do have people who are more into EDM, electronic dance music, house, and then you have the section that is more into, hip hop and trap, and music like that. And it's really is a maybe 50-50, especially amongst young people, what they want to listen to. Some really enjoy EDM.
Yes.
Some really enjoy like the hip hop, the trap, not really like old school or, deep hip hop, but just more of the current top 40 hip hop hits, they want to hear those records.
Aside from Korea and the U.S., have you DJ'd in other countries as well?
No.
Okay.
Only in the States and Korea.
Okay, all right. Because I'm very curious to know what would be, especially within Asia, because I went to Japan many times actually, and I remember one time I went to this bar in Tokyo, and it was kind of like a venue type bar, and I noticed that first of all, I noticed that the DJ was probably in his 50s or something, and noticeably so, and I was thinking, you would not see that at a club in Korea.
This could this question in particular I want to phrase it in a way that it doesn't offend people, but I'm going to tell you my honest opinion. I love Japan for that reason.
Yeah.
I love Japan. My first, not experience, but my first understanding of Japan with music came in the 90s. I was watching an episode of Yo MTV Raps, and Fab Five Freddy, who was the host at the time, went to Japan to check out the hip-hop scene in Japan. And I was floored.
Yeah.
I was totally floored by how deep into the music the Japanese culture is. They, not just hip-hop, they love all things classic hip-hop, but they love all things reggae as well. Nice. Like their appreciation of music in Japan is not surface. They get really deep into the music. Their DJs are some of the best DJs in the world.
Yeah, from what I know about music in Asia, Japan always seems to be the outlier. They know their stuff.
They do.
Yeah.
Japanese DJs have a love for hip hop culture, R&B and disco culture. Like it's a real love.
Yeah.
I've been to it was 2016 or 2017. I went to a house music event in Tokyo that was absolutely amazing. It was amazing. And I just, I was floored by the people just dancing. The culture of it all was just amazing.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, not to knock that guy, because I said, he looked immediately, I noticed that he was old, but I was thinking, because he was older and I guess not looking like the typical DJ that you might find in other parts of Asia, I was thinking, wow, this dude must be really good then.
They take the culture seriously, and they're kind of, I don't want to really call them a gatekeeper, but they kind of are. Like those guys, they enjoy long careers because, of the music appreciation, and people are there for the music. They're not there for the looks.
Right.
Older DJ in Korea is probably not going to be playing these mega venues.
Right.
Yeah.
Very few.
Yeah.
Or at least they got to look really, really young. You know what I mean? They got to look really, really young. But older dudes, they're going to like, who's this guy? You know, they want the look of the DJ to match the look of the room.
I guess it's deeper music. It's
It
more
is.
variety.
Yeah.
It's like, more, you say, like eclectic style.
Absolutely. 100%. I love it. If I had my opportunity to DJ anywhere in Asia, it would definitely be Japan.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of going back to Korea and also kind of the business side of it, the kind of path that you took to kind of rebuild your DJ career in Korea, would you say that is, I'm assuming, not the typical path that a DJ, especially an expat DJ, would take?
I think it depends on your goals.
Mm-hmm.
So again, when I came, I was kind of over DJing, at least at the time.
Yeah.
Since then, I've kind of just taken it all as it comes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the younger DJs, that are more aggressive with it,
Mm-hmm.
of course, they're going to be able to break into the scene a little bit more. They're more active in finding
Mm-hmm.
gigs. I have grown to the point where I want the kind of rooms that suit me best.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's kind of like just kind of waiting until it comes to you sometimes, or just going to different places and meeting the type of people that you want to work with and play with. And also the people who love what you do will also seek you out.
Right.
So, of course, I played venue. And so people who knew that I was capable of playing those types of rooms sought me out. You know, it's
Nice.
how I got involved in playing at Living Room, how I got involved in playing at Macaroni Funky Club. You
Right.
know, when Sun and Deck in Itaewon was open, I got sought out to play there because they knew what I was capable of doing. So this goes back to your lane. You know, there's nothing wrong with sticking to your lane because people who know what you're capable of doing will seek you out to do just that.
And that's how you like built your connection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's a, it can be a slow process, but if you're in it for the love of the music, then that's okay. You know, if you're in it for kind of the fame of it all,
Yeah.
Glory.
you know the fame and the glory of it all, you may be a little bit more aggressive in how you get out there. You know, you may spend more time putting out mixes and building your brand, which is still important as a DJ, but you're going to do those things a lot more. And that's something that I admire about the younger DJs is they try to brand themselves very well, which is good. They'll get into the rooms and the spaces that they need to get into.
So is it fair to say that I guess once you start, I guess, building up your network and making those connections, is that progress within your career? I guess the method, is that similar how it would also be done in the States as well?
It would. It would.
All right.
You know, the rooms and this is something that I wish I would have paid more attention to when I was younger. You know, the more you DJ and the more people know what you're capable of doing, the more invites you will get. Every invite isn't necessarily a good invite, though. You know, people will know that you may be a good DJ, and so, of course, they want to book you, but maybe you're not a good DJ for what they're looking for. You know, and I think in my early days as a DJ, I fell into a lot of that in Atlanta. There was a certain space, there were certain spaces and rooms that I really wanted to be in, but I was getting offers from other spaces that were just, okay, I'll do it, but this is not really where I want to be. Where I really want to be is over there. I really want to be playing this underground club and with these people, but instead I'm playing this kind of upscale bar, and about 12 a.m. I got to start playing all the top 40 stuff because that's what they want to hear. So I was in those spaces while secretly wanting to be in other spaces.
Okay.
And so choosing your lane I think it's important wherever you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, speaking about those lanes, talking about those kind of generic top 40 clubs, I would imagine very on the superficial level that anyone, like any DJ at a minimum level, could do it. But obviously, there's more layers to it. So my question is, what for those types of clubs, and then I'll ask about like kind of the niche that you're in. But first, for those types of top 40 clubs, what makes a DJ stand out from the rest? If their content is just simply top 40.
Now that is a really good, honestly, that's a really good question.
I'm sorry I did not send that to you beforehand.
No.
Yeah.
That's okay though. That's okay. You know what I would say? In this day and age, I think the only difference is marketing.
Really?
I really think that the main difference is how you brand yourself. I've heard a lot of DJs, not saying that the younger DJs don't have any skills. Some of them really do have skills. Yep. But again, from DJ to DJ, is there really that much difference in what you're doing?
Right. Yeah.
So what would make this guy stand out over this guy? What would make this girl stand out over that girl? It's a lot of it is branding, and a lot of it is what you can sell. A little bit of a dangerous area to go into is we see the emergence now of more women in the DJing field.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yep.
I know some really good DJs who are women. I also know some DJs who are women who are there in those spaces just because they are women. Because it sells. And it just is what it is.
They're kind of like those like influencer DJs or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get them. They get them in there. They're in those spaces. They're influencers. They bring people. Okay. That is what it, and then it is what it is. But I know some good DJs who are also women who probably may never be in those spaces.
Right.
Just because they aren't the kind of image that necessarily sells. People know that they are good DJs, but they may not be doing some of the things that some of the other women in DJing are doing right now, and I'm just putting it mildly.
But if you're whether if you're a man or a woman, and you mentioned, marketing, what are some ways that you would go about marketing yourself to the community?
To which community? So, for example, if we're talking about big clubs, it's fashion, it's style, it's what are you wearing? It's your brand, it's your do you have a website? What are you doing? Are you on multiple streaming platforms? Are you on Twitch? Are you on YouTube streaming? What else? Just your brand in general, your logo, everything stands out, your pictures, your photo shoots, all of those different things. You put together a promo package for yourself and get it out there. So it depends. Now, if you are more the underground club type DJ, again, I think word of mouth and networking works well for you.
For the streaming services, are a lot of DJs using Twitch? Because I always thought Twitch was just for gaming streaming.
I have a funny story about Twitch.
Please do tell.
It's not. It's funny. It's funny because I think back on how long a lot of my friends told me to get involved with Twitch. I had friends years ago saying, because it's funny. This whole COVID-19 brought a lot of DJs to the streaming world. I initially was streaming sets from maybe 2016.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would go into clubs and go on my Facebook Live and stream my sets.
Nice.
DJ Scratch had his radio, Scratch Vision Radio. He's been doing it for 10 years.
I'm sorry, it's DJ Scratch.
DJ Scratch is. Oh, sorry. So DJ Scratch is the former DJ of EPMD, but also global phenomenon in the hip hop world. He had Scratch Vision TV as early as 2009, maybe 2010. So streaming was not new to DJs, but it wasn't at the scale it is now also, you know. But 2016, 2017, I'd go into places, put up my phone, Facebook Live, and I'm streaming. I had friends that asked me back then, dude, why don't you get on Twitch? And I'm like, and I went to Twitch and I was looking at Twitch and I was like, this is corny. I don't want to do this.
It's just a bunch of gamers.
So, it's just a bunch of gamers, right? All right, so here it is, 2020, and Facebook and Instagram are kicking DJs off left and right.
Really?
For music rights.
Oh, okay. All right.
For music rights. They're like, no, midway into a stream, stream is flat. Instagram was weren't kicking DJs off initially, but then they started kicking DJs off and then making exceptions for certain DJs. Like if I don't know if you're familiar
the big
with
names.
The big name, like D Nice. So for example, D Nice went on. I remember, his first Instagram thing, was huge because he just went on and did this whole marathon DJing thing, and everybody after that was like, oh, the streaming thing is big now, and I'm like, we've kind of been doing it for a while, but okay, fine, they'll give him the credit, and it's not that he doesn't deserve it. He did a great job with his streams, but there were just people doing it before him. But fast forward, Instagram and Facebook are kicking people off, and now DJs are looking for a new place.
Yeah.
And that's where Twitch came in. And so the DJs that hopped on it, at the beginning of this year and started developing themselves on Twitch are doing great now.
Really?
A large number of followers, using the platform as to market themselves and to even profit from it as well. So yeah, there's a big music community on Twitch now. It's huge.
Yeah.
They even when you click onto Twitch, it'll tell you, they're like different categories, and music is a category now. And it's not even just DJs. It's DJs, it's producers, it's musicians. Everybody is using Twitch now.
Okay. Wow. Do you also use like other platforms like TikTok or?
I haven't gotten into the TikTok thing. I was using Instagram for a while. I mostly stream to Twitch now. I stream to Twitch, Periscope. I recently put my account on Cacao TV.
Oh, nice.
And Africa, and I have no idea who's out there watching me. I really don't. Hopefully I got some folks in Korea watching me, but I have no idea because I haven't been able to really check the scenes. But Cacao and Africa, yeah.
Nice. But these platforms are also popular amongst like the expat DJ community as well as the Korean DJ community.
You know what? To be honest, I don't know how much the Korean DJ community is using the online platforms. Most of the DJs that I know don't talk much about streaming, even in Korea. And I'm talking about foreign and Korean.
Okay.
Most. I know a few that have jumped on Twitch, but not many. I'm not sure if, on the Korean side of things, how many of them are using the Cacao TVs, the Africa TV,
right?
Even YouTube. I don't see many. I know that they are using YouTube. Some are using YouTube, but I'm not sure that it's huge like that.
Do you also use Africa?
I just started.
Okay.
I just added it.
Sure, nice. I mean, the more you could expose yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I just started, so I have, I've streamed. I added them because I use a platform called Restream, and Restream allows you to stream to Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and I was like, well, Africa is there, so I was like, all right, I'll add them. So I went in, created Africa TV, created Cacao TV, so it's going, when I do stream, it's going out to all of these platforms,
right.
But I just, I don't have a huge presence myself on there. I try to focus mainly on Twitch,
nice.
But then, these guys that really do it, they got like 3 screens, they're looking at, who's watching me here, who's watching me there, and I'm just
holy
like,
cow,
that's too much for me. It's enough for me to just focus on my DJing.
Yeah.
I'll go back and look later.
Yeah.
Or get some friends to tune in to the different channels and check them for me and see how they're looking. So.
Sure.
Yeah. I would imagine right now with COVID that, for a DJ, a full-time DJ, the only revenue that you might be able to get is just online.
Honestly, yeah. It's rough out here. All the shutdowns everywhere. Most cities and most places, even in the States, like a lot of DJs are just not playing as much.
Right.
What do they do?
It's rough. Stream.
I guess that's the most ideal adaptation.
Stream, make mixes. There's always, Mixcloud, Again, I think this kind of separates. One thing I think COVID will do is kind of separate the people who are truly in it for the long haul from the people who are just playing around with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they, if you really love now, and even for myself, that's a struggle. I enjoy playing for people. So streaming sometimes for me is really a task, you know, because you just don't get the same amount of joy playing in your house as you do playing for a room full of people.
Yeah.
You know, it's really different for me. I enjoy the energy from the people sometimes.
One thing you might consider, I don't know if they still have this platform anymore, but well, I think there are variations of it. But by any chance, do you guys remember Chat Roulette?
No,
Yeah,
I've never heard of
Chat Roulette was a streaming platform,
Yeah.
but you just get randomly matched with just another person who's on the platform, and it could be anywhere in the world.
We had fun with that back in the day.
Yeah.
What?
Unfortunately, there was a lot of X-rated content as well, so
Yeah.
it's the luck of the draw, basically.
Is this like dark web type stuff here? What are we talking about?
Borderline.
Yeah, borderline.
Whoa.
It could have been.
Yeah.
But then they started cracking down on that a lot. But one of my friends, he also DJ'd a little bit. And what he would do is that he would go on there and he would perform sets just to anyone he got matched with. And, I mean, some people liked it, some people didn't. But, like, the people who did, they got really into it. Yeah.
Maybe I'll look into that. You know, honestly, DJing has brought me closer to technology, but there's still a lot that, you know, people are always telling him, you doing this? Do you know this? Do you know that? Even when I started streaming, you know, again, I think I mentioned that when I would show up some places, I just, you know, click on the Facebook Live and just go. But there's so much more when you actually start streaming, like OBS and, you know, dealing with broadcasting, you know, platforms and multiple cameras and multiple microphones. And I'm just like, this is a lot. It took me so long to get my Twitch platform correct.
So,
and it's still not even as good as most people.
So when you're thinking about the progress that you've made in your DJing career, are there certain things that you can immediately like see from your career and would be able to tell your younger self, like, hey, make sure you do this, or hey, don't make this a mistake? I think marketing seems to be one big thing that you would tell your younger self to focus on.
I would definitely tell my younger self to focus on marketing. I would tell myself to focus on marketing, but I would also, the biggest message, if I could send a message back to younger self, the biggest message I would send to younger self is to define who you want to be as a DJ.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll find yourself in too many different spaces that you may not want to be in. If you want to be in those multiple rooms and you want to develop like that and grow, that's okay. But I would definitely tell myself to define who you want to be as a DJ and stick with it.
So kind of along the same lines, even when you do find that kind of niche, as a DJ, when you're in the moment of performing, are you focusing on just, you know, what the music is for you, or are you focusing on how people are responding to the music?
It's both for me.
Okay.
It's always both for me. I love to see people move. So I love to see people dance, and it lets me know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing as a DJ. But at the same time, I want audiences who are open to music. And the reason I want those audiences is because DJing, it's easy to just play only what the audience wants to hear. But DJs don't only do it for that reason. We do it because we also have a love for specific types of music as well that we want to get in and we want to expose people to. So for me, it's a lot of both. It's okay, are they moving to this? Will they move to this record if I play it? You know, it's a lot of analyzing the room. You know, with requests. We get requests all the time.
Do you guys actually take, I mean, for a DJ, I mean, I would imagine that would piss them off, to be honest.
Requests are annoying. However, not all requests are bad requests. You know, the thing about it is, it's usually how you approach a DJ that determines whether or not your request is annoying. You know, I get the, you know, you get the people who walk up to you with their bright phones and like, here, you guys can't see me, you know, but I'm, you know, literally they're just sticking a camera in your face with,
Right.
you know, they brought up their favorite song on YouTube and they're just like, you can play this record, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I'll get to it. And, you know, they might be like, and, you know, I may look at that request and say, you know what, yeah, give me some time, I'll get to that, I got
Right.
you. But then you get the person that'll come up to you, and I'll give you an example. I was playing, and a girl came up to me, and the song was it was a Prince record. It was, what did she ask me for? When Doves Cry. That's what it was. It was When Doves Cry. And now, mind you, I have no problem playing When Doves Cry. I love Prince, and I would surely play that record. But she walks up to me and she says, can you play When Doves Cry? She shows me her phone. And I was like, oh, yeah, I got you. And she's like, now. I was like, what? And I'm looking at her like, excuse me? She's like, yeah, play it next. I'm like, that's not how this works, you know. And I'm showing her this big label we have, like, so there's a label on the other side of the computer screen that says DJs are not jukeboxes, right? And this is when I go into pointing mode. I'm just like, here, look at that, right there. She's like, what? You know, but you can tell, like, it's usually the folks who have had one too many drinks already that are the most irate. Mm-hmm. A lot of people will make a request and just simply be like, you know, can I play this? I'll be like, okay, and then they'll walk away. But you get the ones that have had too much, and then they're just like, oh, play it now, and blah, blah. And it's just the rudeness of it all that's just like, ugh.
Do you experience that, like, quite a bit?
Yeah, you know, I do, but I don't. It's kind of mixed. Yeah. I would say that most of the rooms that I've played in, I don't get too many requests. Okay. But you do occasionally get the rude requester.
I see.
You know, the rude requester is, you know, we all hate the rude requester. It's just like, go away.
What's the worst request that you ever gotten?
Oh. It usually, worst in the terms of this record just doesn't go with this room.
Yeah, like in terms of song selection.
Oh, man. This is probably one too many to think of. I'm trying to think, man. I can't even think of one. But you do occasionally get those where you just like, dude, I'm not playing that. Like, I'm not, man. Like that, come on. Like, no. That doesn't go with this room right now. Sure. I can't even think of one that's bad like that. But I'm sure I've gotten one in the past.
I mean, I imagine it's those types of requests are just the ones that are just completely out of left field or something.
Yeah, it's just people liking a record and they automatically assume they should hear it in the club, you know, and this just doesn't work, right? Not, at least not right now.
Yeah.
I would say that any DJ who is good enough can make almost any record work at some point during his set. But to think that we go from playing one type of record to playing, you know, this wildly different record, you know, right behind each other, just isn't how it works. You know, what I think most DJs want people who make requests to know is that, you know, there's a method to this madness. You know, it's not just, you know, 1 minute I'm playing, you know, a Cardi B, or let's say, you know what, I'll go with extremes. You know, 1 minute I'm playing, you know, a Michael Jackson record, and then you're like, play Cardi B. And I'm just like, it doesn't, no, not really. I'll get there, but, you know, it doesn't work like that, you know, but they want it to work like that. And, yeah, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's their inner fantasy, I guess, that goes with the room.
Well, everybody wants to hear their favorite songs in the club. And I totally get that, but sometimes you just got to wait for it. It'll happen.
Yeah,
sure.
Now, speaking about that method, going into a little bit more, I guess, of the technical details of how you DJ, like, are there certain things that you're focusing on, like, you know, the beats per minute for a song, or like the, I don't know, tempo, or like, you know, the pitch, or, you know, those types of technical details?
For me, it's the musicality of it. For me, the most important thing with putting records together is the key of it all. You know, you can move across, you know, tempos and BPMs, that's fine. But a lot of times, and even with experienced DJs, I experience this sometimes, is some records just don't go together, you know, and I'm not the type of dude that likes to force them. I feel like records should go together well.
Yeah.
You know, I don't ever want to be the type of DJ that's just playing music for the sake of playing music. I want music to make sense when it comes together. You know, I want to move from this record to that record and people be like, that was good. You know what I mean? I want to be like, that was good. You know, and we have those moments, you know, where we take chances and take risk, and I'll be in a club and I'll be like, you know, I'll try something. I'll try something on the fly, and I'll just be like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that again. You know, it happens, and that's cool. But I think that 90% of your music, even when you take risks, should be things that sound good. You know, it shouldn't just feel like you threw two records together that just don't go together. Yeah. And DJs do it. You know, I've heard them like, I wouldn't have played that after that. You know, DJs are also the worst critics, man. Like, we go listen to other DJs and they're like, You know, I'm sure there are DJs that come listen to me and they're like, You know, it is what it is. We are critics.
Do you also revert to LPs?
Not here.
Okay.
Not here. My record catalog is back in the States in storage. I've been paying that storage bill for like 6 years. It's the worst. But no, here I use digital platforms, so I'm a Serato user. There are really about 3 or 4 platforms that DJs usually use. It's either Serato, Tractor, Rekordbox now, which is a Pioneer platform, and lastly, I would say there are people who are using still Virtual DJ, which, even though it gets a lot of slack, is actually not a bad platform. It's just, you know, there are industry standards, and so I think the industry standards for most now, for EDM DJs, I believe their industry standard is more Rekordbox because they usually function on CDJs, and they can, you know, take their USBs and plug them into the CDJs, which is, you know, more Rekordbox. But for me, for vinyl users, I think more vinyl users use Serato than they use Tractor or Rekordbox. And by vinyl, I mean just our time code vinyl.
Yeah. When you're using, I guess, going from like analog to digital, for, I guess, up to now in the DJ scene, is there a difference in the quality?
To the average listener, I don't think so. But I do believe that the quality of your music matters. You know, most people, like, very good quality is at least 320.
I'm sorry, what's 320?
So if we're talking about the level that the music is recorded at. So, for example, when you buy music on Apple, you have the Apple lossless files. These, of course, WAV files, old school WAV files, are probably compatible to your analog sound. It's like full sound. It's not compressed, you know, but if you're going to compress, you want 320, which is the highest level of compression that you're going to get.
Oh, is that the 320K?
320K,
attached to the file?
Exactly.
I see.
So that would be the best sounding. But, you know, 192, really, I don't think too many people are using 128 anymore. 192, somewhere between 192 and 320 is good. The analog thing for me is I don't totally miss it. As long as I have good files of my music, it's not a big deal to me. Vinyl collectors will tell you something different. And I get it, you know, they're audio files, and I totally get it, but the average listener in a party is not going into a party like, oh, that record is not 320. That's totally 192. They really can't hear the difference, man. Like, honestly, they cannot hear the difference, you know? And so I don't truly think they care. Now, I can tell you that for me, years ago, the process of going from analog to digital was a beast. Initially, because we didn't really know what to do. We didn't know where the industry was going at that time when we started switching over to like digital files. And we had all of these records. So now it's like, what are we going to do? So DJs literally would burn vinyl. We'd put a record on, put the needle on the record and record it, you know, into, you know, different, whatever we were using at the time, Audacity or whatever recording program we use. You literally, to burn one record, you had to play a record.
Yeah.
So it was like a 3-minute process easily for each record. And that was a process and a half. I do not miss that. And so then everything went to, iTunes and Amazon. I'm like, I could have just waited and just bought the record again. And it is what it is.
Sure. I have a two-parter. So, like, how tight is the DJ community in Seoul and Korea? And also, like, what are your personal aspirations of trying to, like, make it more tight-knit, make it more official?
The DJ community.
Yeah.
The DJ community in some aspects is tight, but the DJ community is also very cutthroat. It just is. Everybody is vying for the same spaces. Everybody wants to be in these spaces. Everybody wants to prove that they're deserving of being in these spaces. And because of that, I think you get a lot of, the cutthroat part of that in there. I've walked into rooms and played with DJs. I play behind DJs that'll go on and, you're talking about a 90-minute set and play 100 records. I'm like, why are you playing so many records, dude? It's only 90 minutes. Like, people are not even enjoying the music. You're playing it and cutting it off so short just to show what's in their catalog to say, hey, I'm that guy.
That's less a minute. I mean, that's less than a minute for each song.
Exactly. Less than a minute. Like, who really, where's the enjoyment in that? But that comes from, I've realized that comes from a place of ego. Like, it's the need to prove yourself either to the owners, to the next DJ that's coming on, and I'm just like, why? Like, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's really about the people, and it's great that you have 1 million records. We all do. I have more records in my laptop than I can play in a night, than I can play in probably a week. You can't play them all in one night. So I would say to get back to your question, there's a cutthroat element to the DJ community. So I really don't know that it is as cohesive as it could be, or if it will ever be cohesive in that sense. The DJs who are cool with each other, we look out for each other. The DJ, like, hey man, I got a gig. Are you interested in doing this?
Sure.
Can you play this space? So I think DJs that are cool with each other, we kind of look out for each other. But there's really, to me, there's not a cohesiveness in the DJ community.
Are you mentoring anyone? Like any up and coming DJs?
Right now, no. I was really proud. I had a friend of mine in the States. She came to me. I remember this was like 10 years ago, and she was like, I want to learn how to DJ. And I was like, yeah. Because everybody says it. Everybody is like, oh, I want to learn how to DJ. I want to do this.
Right.
But she was the only person that I've ever worked with that was really about it, and she's doing fantastic now. Her name is Empress Ra, and she's doing amazing things, and she's literally the only person, because again, everybody wants to do it until they actually have to do it. People ask me all the time, they're like, oh, I want to learn how to DJ, and I'm like, okay, how much music do you have? Do you have something that you can use? We're living in a time where it's a digital age. So do you have a dedicated laptop? Do you have your own music? How much money are you willing to spend on or invest in yourself to get started doing this? Because it's not just plug and play. You got to have the tools.
Yeah, exactly.
So I am honestly, no, I'm not mentoring anyone right now. I do have somebody who has asked me to mentor them. They want to learn, and we're going to see.
Okay.
We're going to see.
Nice.
I've already told them what they need to do to, get started, and, we're going to see what they do to, kind of follow through.
Sure. And then any, like, the last part of the question, like, do you ever think about adopting, like, a leadership role of, like, trying to make this community a little more cohesive?
I have. So here's what I've found. In the past, I've worked with collectives of DJs.
Yes.
And usually they break down. They tend to break down. At this point, at this time in my life, with everything that I have going on, it's not the most feasible thing for me to do.
Okay.
Maybe in the future.
Sure.
If I had the amount of time to put in it and, help people develop, because there's so many different things that I feel like DJs, young and old, still need to learn about the business of it all, that I wouldn't mind, you know, kind of taking on a leadership role, or teaching younger DJs the things that are really important about this business. So maybe, but right now I would say it's I don't have the time for it, so to speak.
Yeah.
Sure.
One last question I have.
No, sure,
about well, how often is it that a DJ will just simply like hook up their phone and just play a pre-recorded list of songs or a pre-recorded mix?
You know what? Again, Lanes, I know that happens.
Yeah.
But it honestly doesn't happen with the DJs that I work with.
Okay.
If you're doing that, it's usually because you got to take a bathroom break. You know what I mean? Like, you put on like a 9 or 10 minute mix. It's like, yeah, I got to go to the bathroom. Move. Somebody clear. You know, something like that. But usually, honestly, the DJs that I've worked with and I've had the opportunity to work with, we are DJs who come out to play. Because we really love the craft of it. We want to play records. We want to play music. It doesn't do us any good to just walk in a club and put on a mix. It's just like, man, the club owner could have done this. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The club owner could have just put on a mix if that's what you want to do.
Sure.
However, now, you do hear the stories about some of the bigger name DJs and some of these, you know, some of the big club DJs who just walk in with a mix on their USB and just like plug them in and play. Again, that's not my circle, but I've heard the stories.
If I was in the audience and I paid good money to see that DJ perform, I'd be furious.
Well, you know, the thing is, you might not even know. You might have been to some of these parties and not even know, because, you know, we've entered the age of theatrics with DJing.
Yeah.
So you ever walk into a club and the DJ is just, you know, his head is bobbing.
Yeah.
He's got his hands going and he's turning buttons and mixes and like he's turning this up and he's turning that down and a lot of that is just theatrics. It is. I've experienced firsthand. I've literally watched the DJ like, dude, what are you doing? like you're not. I'm watching. The crowd doesn't know, but I'm behind the DJ booth. Yeah. So I'm watching this kid. I'm just like, you're not. What are you doing? Like, it's literally like if this was a button right here, he just act like he was turning. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing? It's unnecessary. But you know, the audience buys it though. The audience, they're like, you know, the audience is all, you know, wide open and loving it, and I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Theatrics, man.
Gotcha.
So like pre-COVID, even COVID, and even in recent, like where would you perform? Like these days, yeah.
These days, if we were open, living room and hustle, probably.
Living room and hustle.
Macaroni Funky Club.
Gotcha.
Would be probably my go-tos.
Sure.
You know, it's tough right now. You know, you really want to play, and then it's just like, nah, it's not safe. So it is what it is. But yeah, those would be my go-tos.
Sure. Any like local targets that you want to go to?
Local spaces. You know, to be honest, those are the places that I am most comfortable playing. I haven't played Brown. Maybe Brown. Slow. Was it Slow Music? I think it's called Slow Music. Had a couple partners that played there. They look like they have the same in that same lane of music. But that's it, man. I'd love for a new space to open up.
Oh yeah. That was my question. Like any other local targets that you want to, like you know, Macaroni Funky is also local. That's what I meant. Yeah.
I would love for someone to open up a new underground spot. You know, that was catered to, you know, more eclectic. You know, maybe eclectic or, you know, just deeper music. It could be house, it could be disco, it could be old school R&B. You know, just less top 40 oriented.
If you play at Brown, let me know. I'll go, because that'll be the first time. I've always been curious about what that place is really like.
You know, I've been in Brown maybe once. I know some DJs that have played there, but I haven't. You know, things are really quiet right now, so I don't even know how they're doing.
Well, the least we could do right now is follow you on Twitch.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Please, DJ Sean Soul on Twitch.
Sure. We'll have all your links in the show notes. Everyone will be able to check it out.
Awesome. Listen, I would love. That is something I was telling a few of the Twitch DJs, because I will. You know what? Going back to this community DJ question that you asked, the one place that I have found a DJ community on is Twitch. It's interesting. A lot of DJs are willing to help each other.
Right.
We have learned from each other, just setting up our backgrounds and our screens and so many things. There is definitely a community on Twitch.
And they're based anywhere.
Yeah. I'm playing with guys. It's funny. We did a Twitch marathon a few weeks ago, and I'm playing with guys who are like based in Arizona and Florida. So we're all on different time zones. So they're like,
That's
Sean,
awesome.
can you play at 11 p.m.? And I'm like, okay, that's 1 p.m. the next day for us, and I gotta, wake up and, do
the
my
coordination.
thing. Yeah, because, the time zone changes. So, there is definitely a community there. So I would like for more people in Korea to hop on and follow some of these DJs that are doing great, because I don't see the Korean community on Twitch outside of gaming.
Yeah.
Outside of gaming. So I would like them to, know that there's a music side to this thing on Twitch now too.
Hope you enjoyed our session. For more on Sean's professional social media platforms like Twitch and Instagram, we've added the link to this episode's description. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more exciting guest appearances to our upcoming content. Until then, take care.